Section 13 of the Georgics. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Phil Schempf. The Georgics by Virgil. Translated by Harriet Waters Preston. Book 4, Part 3. But what divinity showed us this device? Tell us, O Muses, how did our race receive its earliest hint of so strange artifice? When Aristeus, the shepherd, essayed to leave the borders of Peneus and Tempe's vale, he had wholly lost his bees. Thus runs the tale. And sorry with sickness and with hunger faint, he stayed his foot the uttermost source beside of the holy stream, and uttered wild complaint. My mother, Cyrene, who dost thou bide deep under these gurgling waters? Tell me why thou bearest me to so cruel destiny. Is not my race illustrious, aye, divine? Thou saidst Apollo of Thimbra was my sire. Oh, whither is fled that sometime love of thine? Why didst thou bid me unto the skies aspire? For now, behold, my mother although thou be, I am losing the crown of my mortality. My hard-won fame for the curious care I spent, alike on the harvest and the herd, the vain fruition of infinite experiment. If then thou hold mine honour in such disdain, uproot my nurseries fair with thine own hand, set fire to my stalls like a foe, my harvest land lay waste, and the promise of my crop consume, or wield thee a ruthless axe my vines among. Then under the waters in her far-off room, the mother discerning the cry of her son's wrong, she sat with her nymphs about her, and they did pull for spinning fleeces of Milesian wool, saturate with hue of ocean's hyaline. There were Drymo and Xantho, Ligeia, Philidose, with bright hair clustering about the neck's white sheen, Nicaea and Spio, Thalia Cimidose, and the golden tressed Lycoreus was also set beside Cydippe, the one virgin yet, the other happy in her first motherhood. And Veroe was there, and Clio, sisters these born of the ocean, and gold-girt, and endued alike with garments fashioned of tinctured fleece, and Ephira and Opus, and the Asian maid Diopea, and last among them stayed swift Arethusa, with arrows laid in rest, while Clymene in their circle sang the tale of the futile anger of Vulcan, and how the zest of Mars in theft and strategy did prevail. Then the loves of the mighty gods innumerable, beginning with Chaos, would in order tell, but captivate by the melody, while they all slow from their spindles the soft flax unwound. Again the ears of the mother caught that call of anguish, and from their glassy seats around all startled sprang. Her fellow nymphs before, the yellow-haired Arethusa first upbore her head above the waters, and gazed amain, and far off sounded her voice. O sister mine, Cyrene, thou wast verily not in vain heart-stricken by yon sad cry. That son of thine, thy dearest Aristeus, dissolved in woe, stands where the waters of Father Peneus flow, and thy hard heart most bitterly doth upbraid. Then was the mother smitten anew with fear. Go bring him hither to me, she said. Who better than he hath right to enter here, o'er the sill of the gods? And the flood she bade divide, that her boy might find free footing under the tide. So came he, while before him still withdrew the tall waves, curving crag-like, and gave him place, and following along those vaulted spaces through, under the billows he saw with deep amaze the watery world, the seat of his mother's rule, and the ringing groves, and many a cave-locked pool, and the great sway of the waves benumbed his brain, for all the rivers of the wide world were there, moving in their channels subterranean. Phasis, and Lycus, and the deep fountains, where Enippus and Father Tiber their rise take, and Anio still, and Hypanis, that doth make perpetual murmur upon his rocky bed, and Mysian Caicus, and the bull-visaged Po, having the 2 horns gilded upon his head, than which no river of all earth doth flow through richer fields, or more impetuously discharge his tribute into the purple sea. So now the wanderer being fully come unto Cyrene's bower, did, entering in, pass under the spar-hung ceilings of her home, and she the story of his wild weeping win, the while the sisterhood in procession fair, for the laving of his hands, pure water bear and napless towels, but others yet, intent, the viands heap, and plenish the drained cup, and all the spices of Araby redolent. Sweetly the smoke of the altar fires goes up, till the voice of the mother soundeth, Lift we thus Maeonian cups, and unto Oceanus libation pour. Then made she orison to the Lord of life in the sea, and the sister maids, whereof 100 haunt the rivers alone, and 100 minister in the woodland shades. Thrice then on the fire the liquid nectar shed, thrice leaped the blaze, till the roof-tree shone overhead, and staying her soul on the omen, thus she said: Down in the abysses of the Carpathian Sea, a prophet of Neptune, steel-blue Proteus, bides. With a finny train and biped horses, he in a chariot over the plain of ocean glides, and visiteth even now Pallene, and the ports of his Macedonian fatherland. And we of the nymphs do hold him in deep awe, so even doth hoary Nereus, for he knoweth all things which are and have been, and them which draw hither out of the future he foreshoweth. Neptune ordains it, there where he doth keep sea-calves and herds of monsters under the deep. This Proteus child must thou in fetters bind till he deliver the cause of all the woe thou sufferest, and promised issue to thy mind. He giveth no oracles otherwise than so compelled, nor softeneth he for any prayers. O'erpower him therefore, and chain him unawares, and circumvent and shatter his idle craft. Now I myself, when the fires of noon are hot, and the herbs of the field are all faint for their dew draught, and the herd for the shade, will show the secret spot wherein the ancient many a time doth steal, weary of the waters, and his form conceal. For while he lieth asleep, thou mayest draw near unstayed. But when thou hast grappled him and bound, his manifold transformations will appear. All shapes of savagery mock thee and astound. And now of a bristling boar he takes form, and now of a tiger fell, or a mailed worm, and now of a lioness with tawny mane. Anon, with a sudden hissing as of fire, he slips thy chains, and is lost in the wave again. Wherefore do thou, son, with implacable ire, the more he changeth, tighten thy bounds the more, till he taketh again the shape that erst he wore, when thou sawest the slumber steal his eyelids o'er. So saying, she an ambrosial balm did shed, and saturate all the body of her son, till even the ringlets of his comely head breathed perfume, and a subtle power did run his members through. Now there is a mountainside vast, excavate in a grotto, where the tide, forced mightily inward by the wind, is cleft, and seeketh sinuous channels far withdrawn. Herein full many a mariner, storm bereft, hath found safe harborage in the years agone, and Proteus cherisheth here a lurking place, behind a mighty rock. Through devious ways hither the nymph conducts her child, and leaves in hiding, and from the outer sunshine turned, while a nebulous veil herself hard by receives. Lo now, in the firmament fleet Sirius burned, the planet of thirsty Ind, and the sun on high had half devoured his course, and the herbs were dry, and under the fierce combustion of those rays the very slime of the river beds grew hot, and the waters vanished out of their hollow ways. Then Proteus, even as his wont was ever, sought a refuge out of the billows in the caves. The humid folk of the universal waves leaped round his going, scattering bitter dew, and seals lay stretched in slumber about the strand. The while from a rocky throne he did review and tell the number of all his ocean band, as a herdsman upon the hills, at evenfall, leadeth his flock from pasture back to stall, while the bleating of tender lambs the ear doth whet of the listening wolf. But, ready for mastery, seized Aristeus that thing of eld, ere yet his weary limbs unto sleep composed he, falling upon him with a mighty cry, clinching with manacles there where he did lie, and the monster, not oblivious in the least of his old arts, miraculous feats essayed of infinite transformation. Horrible beast, and fire, and a flowing stream by turns was made, till baffled of flight, and beaten in every guise, he came to himself, and spake in mortal wise: "Under whose orders, thou most insolent youth, invadest thou my dominions? What's thy will?" But he: thou knowest full well, in sooth, O Proteus, he who would cheat thee wasteth skill. Have done then, also, with all those wiles of thine, for verily the lead I follow is divine. Because of my fallen fortunes come I here, desiring an oracle. He spake no more. With a mighty spasm then the soothsayer did roll his burning orbs the invader o'er, green glaring, and while he ground his teeth with hate, there issued out of his lips the word of fate. End of section 13.